Menea hodire aki leos efike de lo heran. Back then, I could sing it for days and nights. On every battle, every old digression, I would sing and I would sing. In my CNA, once I sang for a year, you don't believe me? In Babylon, I started to sing it differently, but the crowd still came. In Alexandria, I started to notice a few empty seats, but still I sang it. Shorter, though. 3 or 4 days. You know where it went down really well? Gaul. Something about those people. They had a real taste for it. Of course, they were hard to control. They would get up on tables, trying to sing along, screaming, yelling, went outside building fires. Terrible. Every time I sing this song, I hope it's the last time. You muses. In the halls of Olympus, you are goddesses. You are everywhere. You know everything. All we hear is the distant ring of glory. Sing. You know, in the old days, we'd be in a tavern or a bar, I guess you'd say. It was so much easier to talk about these horrors in a bar. This is the story of the Trojan War, and of 2 great fighters, Achilles and Hector. Muses, Menea, Audire, Leos de lo Heron. Rage! Goddess, sing the rage of Peleus' son Achilles. Murderous, doomed like Osician's countless losses. Hurled to the house of death, so many sturdy souls. Great fighter souls that made their bodies carrion. Feast for the dogs and birds. What made them fight with such a fury? The gods, of course. Pride, honor, jealousy. Aphrodite, some game or another. An apple, Helen being more beautiful than somebody else. It doesn't matter. The point is, Helen's been stolen and the Greeks have to get her back. It's always something, isn't it? But it's a good story. I remember a lot of it. Imagine a beach. Rocky, jagged, and about 1.5 miles inland. Imagine a city with stone ramparts protecting it. This city was called Troy. And from the walls of this city, Hector could see the water. Down by the beach and in that water, there are hundreds of ships, all different kinds of Greek ships. This is where my story takes place, ages ago. Who are the captains of those Greek ships? Who are the captains of the Achaea? The massive troops. I could never tally. I could have had 10 tongues and 10 mouths if I had a heart made of me bronze. Yes, if I had a heart made of me bronze. If I could remember the names, that is. If I could actually remember everybody. Sing in memory. All who gathered under Troy, the list of ships, the number of men on those ships. Muses? Here goes. First came the Boeotian units led by Latouche and Peneleus. Arcesilaus and Proethanor and Clonius shared command of the armed men who lived in Hyria. Rocky Alius. Thespian, Graea, the dancing rings of Mycalaesis, Elysion and Eretre, Cope, Eutrysis, and Thisbe thawing with doves. It's coming back to me, yes. Fighters from Cornea and Helitris deep in meadows. Men who held Plataea and lived in Gilcis. Men who held the rough-hewn gates of Lord Thebes. Onconsis to holy Poseidon's sun-filled grove. Men from the town of Arne, green with vineyards. That's right. You don't know any of these places. But these names mean something to me, and I knew these boys. The point is, on all these ships are boys from every small town in Ohio, from farmlands, from fishing villages, the boys of Nebraska and South Dakota, the twangy boys of Memphis, the boys of San Diego, Palo Alto, Berkeley, Antelope Valley. You can imagine. There are soldiers from Kansas, from Lawrence, Kansas, from Springfield, Illinois, Evansville, Illinois, Chicago, Illinois, from Buffalo, New York, Cooperstown, New York, Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, the Bronx, South Bronx. There are soldiers from Florida, from the Panhandle with its snake charmers and evangelists, from the Okeechobee. There are soldiers from Miami who speak Spanish, Miami who speak French, Miami who speak English. There are Puerto Rican soldiers. There are soldiers from Texas, from the Flatland, from Dallas, from Plano, from Houston. There are soldiers from Tennessee, from Western Tennessee, from the mountains in Virginia, the mountains in Seattle, from Flint, Michigan, from Ben Harbor, from the Thumb, you know, Escanaba, you know what I mean, you get the point. Known and unknown. We're talking tens of thousands of men emptied out of the Greek islands. Picture these men, these ships, so many ships. 50, 40, 40, 50, 80, 100, Agamemnon. 60, 40, 40, 12, Odysseus. 11, 40, 30, Achilles. 80, 30, 50. These are ships, I'm counting, not men, ships. 40, 40, 90, Nestor. That's how many hundreds and hundreds of ships. That's 120 men on each ship. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Greek men. Do you see? So here we are. 9 years. Oh, please. Muses, don't make me do this alone. 9 years. Fighting on and off. Fighting to the wall and back. Greeks win one day, Trojans win the next, like a game of tug of war. And nothing to show for it except exhaustion, poverty, and loneliness. What was it like? It was a pain. It was awful. It was hot. Yeah, how about that? It was hot. How can I? 9 years. So you left when your baby was 1. You come back, your baby is 10. You come back, your baby is dead. You come back, your wife is dead. You come back, your wife is fat. You come back, your wife has had 3 affairs and 2 more kids. Hi, honey, don't get mad, or you come back, you're no longer Greek. You're now Diocletian, whatever. You're Spartan now. They came and took over while you're hanging out at Troy, and you have no title to your land anymore. Your father died while you were gone, or oh no, we don't wear those leggings anymore. We stopped wearing them like that a long time ago. And so you can imagine after 9 years of this, they want to go home. They don't remember why they're fighting. But what humiliation it would be to hold out for so long and then just sail home empty-handed. How do you know when you've won, Someone said to me, how do you ask someone to be the last man to die for a losing cause? And I'm paraphrasing. But the idea being you're in the supermarket line. And you've been there for 20 minutes. And then the other line starts moving faster. Do you switch lines now? No, goddammit, I've been here for 20 minutes. I'm going to sit here, I'm going to wait. I don't care if I wait, because otherwise I've wasted my time. Courage, my friends. Hold out a little longer.
Now, this whole time, of course, the gods are watching, up on Mount Olympus, and some of them are cheering on the Greeks, Achilles, Achilles, and some of them are cheering on the Trojans, Hector, like sports fans. And really, back then, this was their only entertainment. They were addicted to it. They couldn't allow it to end. And so they'd swoop down, and they'd pinch, and they'd prod, and they'd whisper, just to make sure the battles kept raging. Ah, the old gods. You remember Zeus and his wife Hera? Apollo? Athena? Well, I guess they haven't been around. Where do the old gods go? That's a song. No. Where do the old gods go when they die? I don't know. Oh, there's one in the gin bottle. There's one in the vodka bottle. Spirits? Look, Athena. She's in the tequila. Athena tequila. Gods never die. They change. They burrow inside us. They become us. They become our impulses. Lust, Aphrodite. Mischief, Hermes. A good idea, Athena. Athena tequila. Very good. Oh, the things the old gods could do to us. Muses? 9 years in, and we're all camped out on that beach. Bad enough. Only now, it's night, and men are suddenly getting very sick. 1 minute, they're polishing their boots. The next, they're choking on black blood. Down the beach, there's this massive fire burning. And it's not wood they're burning, it's corpses. They're burning the corpses of men and mules and dogs. They've been infected by plague. What is going on? I'll tell you. We've angered the gods. Our leader, Agamemnon, has taken as the spoils of war this girl. Gorgeous, 15 years old, and she happens to be the daughter of a priest of Apollo. The old man comes to Agamemnon with a cart piled high, saying, "Please take these gifts, this ransom. Just give me back my daughter." Agamemnon says no. The priest even offers to pray for the Greeks, if only he'll give his daughter back. Agamemnon says no. All the Greek commanders come to Agamemnon and beg him to give her back. Agamemnon says no. The priest is heartsick. He goes to Apollo, and Apollo gets mad. Ever seen an angry god? He takes these arrows, and he covers the tips in sickness, in plague, nasty stuff. The arrows clanged against his back as the god quaked with rage. Over against the ships, he dropped to a knee and let fly an arrow from the big, terrifying shaft. Tung, tung, tung. Infection, disease, death. There's only one way to end the plague. Agamemnon has to give the girl back. "I won't give up the girl." He's the commander. No one's going to tell him what to do. So the Greeks call a grand assembly. All the tribes, all the factions, all the warriors gather, and the meeting grounds shook. Everyone buzzing like bees, you know? They're frightened and angry and sick of the plague. Then Agamemnon sweeps in, and everyone starts to shout, "Respect the priest! Take the ransom! Give back the girl!" Then someone shouts, "Quiet, quiet, quiet! The king of men, Agamemnon, is speaking." Silence. Agamemnon takes the scepter and rises. "Okay, I'm willing to give back the girl if that's what everybody wants. I'm not a tyrant. I can see that it's best for everyone if I do. But fetch me another prize, and straight off too, else I alone of the Argives go without my honor. That would be a disgrace." And everyone starts to murmur because, there are no prizes left. They've all been distributed. Someone will have to give up their prize. Then suddenly, from the back, a huge figure rises. This is our man, Achilles. in the middle of all this misery, there is this one genius. Achilles is the greatest warrior who ever lived. He's bigger than Sinbad, bigger than Heracles, bigger than, well, who's the biggest warrior living now? And it's not just that he's good at killing. It's that he's good at the art of war. Now, you have to understand that Achilles is superhuman. He's half mortal, but he's also half god. His mother, Thetis, is a sea nymph. He was raised by a centaur, and amazing things like he could understand animals. Animals talk to him. His horse, I can't remember his horse's name, but he talked to him. I remember once his horse said to him, his horse sat him down. Oh, Achilles was overeating. And his horse said, "Whoa." We all laughed. Oh, yes. And Achilles knows he's going to die here in Troy. He doesn't know how, he doesn't know when, but he knows he won't be going home. That's been prophesized. Achilles will live a brief but glorious life. Imagine living with that. This is Achilles. Here he is. Just how, Agamemnon, great field marshal, most grasping man alive, how can the generous Argives give you prizes now? I know of no troves of treasure, piled lying idly by anywhere. Whatever we dragged from towns we plundered. All's been portioned out. But collect it? Call it back from the rank and file? Now, that would be the disgrace. And oh, he shouldn't have said that, because the men start to shrink back now, leaving Achilles alone to face the commander-in-chief. You can't talk to me like that, even if you are the bravest fighter we have. You're so gifted, you're such a great warrior. But don't forget, you're half god. I'm only man, but I'll show you who's greater. What do you want? To cling to your prize while I sit calmly by, empty-handed here? I'll take what I want. Give me Briseis. Now, Briseis is someone that Achilles won, fair and square. Not only has he won her, but he's come to love her. Briseis is his companion. She cooks for him, she sleeps with him. She's become dear to him. Don't give me commands. The Trojans never did me damage. Not in the least. No, you colossal, shameless, we all followed you, to please you, to fight for you, to win back your honor from the Trojans, Menelaus, and you dog face. The men all gasp. Never once did you arm with the troops and go to battle, or risk an ambush. You lack the courage. You can see death coming. Safer by far you find to foray all through camp, commandeering the prize of any man who speaks against you. King who devours his people. I have no mind to linger here, disgraced, brimming your cup and piling up your plunder. He starts to leave. Desert by all means, if the spirit drives you home. I will never beg you to stay, not on my account. But let this be my warning on your way. I will be there in person at your tents to take Briseis in all her beauty, your own prize, so you can see just how much greater I am than you, and the next man up may shrink from matching words with me. And Achilles flies into a rage. He grabs a scepter. Now, this scepter it's a Greek tradition. Whenever anybody wants to speak officially, we take the scepter. It's like a talking stick, the origins of democratic process and all that. And Achilles says, by this scepter, this mighty oak that will never again flower, I swear I will never fight for you again. Let Trojan Hector slaughter you all. Let all the Greeks die. Let all the men be swept under, not until, and let you, Agamemnon, fall on your knees to me, repentant, blubbering, wishing you had never said these words. You can eat your heart out. You can eat your words. I will never fight for you again. Trojan Hector will slaughter you all you dare to humiliate me. He raises his arm against Agamemnon. All the men are staring at him. What is he doing? Then suddenly, his head yanks back. The men can't see what Achilles can see. Athena has grabbed him by the hair. She whispers in his ear, "Hold back! You can't kill Agamemnon!" And Achilles says, "Why?" And Athena says, "Obey!" Achilles has no choice. He grabs the scepter and he, to the ground, smashes it in pieces. Well, not really, but furious. None of you in this meeting will speak for me. See how you do without me. And he storms out. And all the Greek army is standing there going, and Agamemnon's kind of going, "Well, who the fuck cares about him?" And he leaves. This is the rage of Peleus' son, Achilles. Minia elethe apelio de Achilles. And there it is. That's how it starts. It's infuriating. They take the girl to Agamemnon's tent, and Achilles wept, and slipping away from his companions, far apart, sat down on the beach of the heaving gray sea and scanned the endless ocean. And so the war rages on, but Achilles stays in his tent, waiting, fuming, betting against his own side, the Greeks.
I wish I could show you a photograph of Troy, but here is what it was like. Walk through the Scaean gates, and the first thing you'll see is a great plaza with a fountain. There's water everywhere, little waterfalls, little pools. Every house has its own pool, and you hear the sound of water flowing all the time. And that water is a form of music, and that music begins to mingle with the real music, flutes, lyres, singing. And as you walk through, you begin to see how every house is both private and public. So each house has a private area, yet it spills into a common area. So as you walk through the city of Troy, you see everybody, and everybody sees you. They like to have their events. They love their concerts, their public meetings. They have performances of all kinds, and there's a great sense of civic duty. So they get together to discuss things like, what are we going to do with the fig tree that is dying? How do we save the fig tree? And then they get a committee together to discuss the fig tree. And, of course, respect for the family, the royal family, Priam and his sons. They've actually brought Troy peace. They've actually fought off invasions. They've actually given them a life that's stable. So, what you feel when you walk into Troy is a great sense of calm and a great sense of serenity. This is before the war, of course. Now, the man called Hector, shining Hector, man-killing Hector, Hectoros Hippodamio, Hector breaker of horses. It's always so hard to describe Hector. His little brother calls him a sharp axe, a sharp edge, always cleaving forward. Hector believes in institutions. He believes in his country. He believes in his family. He believes in the army. Isn't it funny how hard it is to describe a good man? He's a brave man, but deep down he'd rather be taming horses. But Hector is the eldest. He's firstborn, and he's got dozens, and I mean dozens of brothers and sisters. More than 50 by various mothers. I can't remember all the names now. My God, I have to look that up. It's all written down somewhere. But one brother especially, Paris. Every time Hector saw Paris, it was like he couldn't stop yelling at him. And for good reason, of course, because Paris was actually the kind of Paris actually found a way to make the case that it was better for him to stay inside with the women than to go out and fight. And even when he did try to fight, once, Aphrodite just swooped in, picked him up by the scruff of his neck, wrapped him up in a blanket of fog, and tossed him back into Helen's bed. And he stayed there. That's who Paris was. It was always something like, but oh, if I go and they catch me, they'll hold me for ransom. And that'll put you in an awkward position. Better for me to, live out my days here knowing that I'm a coward. And you can argue with someone like that because they actually made the case for you. And you're like, you are a coward. You know what I mean? But he already called himself a coward, so where are you going to go from there? Everyone always wants to hear more about Paris. Paris, tell us more about Paris. But Paris isn't actually that important. I know, he stole Helen away from Menelaus and brought her to Troy, and that started the whole war. And yes, he was so handsome and everything, but he's not interesting. Not to me. Anymore. But Hector. You see, the thing about Hector is he's proud. He won't let anyone else lead the charge for Troy. And he's got allies coming from all over, but he won't let them lead their own tribes. He wants to be in charge. Complicated, full of hubris, but also decent. Hector's a good husband and a good father. He's a lot like... Well, one terrible day. The Trojans are struggling because the Greek army is full of ferocious warriors, great Ajax, Diomedes, and even though Achilles won't fight, the Greeks are winning because Athena, you wouldn't believe, the gods have made a mess of things. Athena even puts on her helmet and fights for the Greeks, stabbing her own brother Ares in the stomach. And he goes crying to Zeus. No, it's a mess. So, on this day, the Greeks, with the help from Athena, they hack and chop and decimate the Trojans, pushing them back towards the city walls. Hector and his brothers, they try to hold their ground, but they keep getting pushed back. And Hector becomes afraid that the Trojans will give up or run away or go back inside and hide behind the city walls. Hector and one of his brothers... Well, they realize that they need to get Athena on their side. So Hector runs alone back towards Troy to ask the citizens to start to pray to Athena. His mother Hecuba catches sight of him and runs and grabs his hand. My child, why have you left the bitter fighting? Why have you come home? Look how they wear you out. But wait, I'll bring you some honeyed mellow wine. When a man's exhausted, wine will build his strength. Don't offer me mellow wine, mother, not now. I'd sap my limbs, I lose my nerve for war. No. Pray to the gods, ask Athena to stop helping the Greeks. And he runs on. Then the face that launched 1,000 ships, Helen, she stops him. My dear brother, dear Timmy, bitch that I am. Vicious, scheming whore to freeze the heart. How I wish that first day my mother brought me into the light, some black whirlwind had rushed me out to the mountains. But since the gods ordained it all these desperate years, I wish I'd been the wife of a better man. But come in, sit on the seat with me, dear brother. You are the one hit hardest by the fighting, Hector. You more than all, and all for me, whore that I am, and this blind, mad Paris, the two of us. But Hector doesn't have time for this. The only one he wants to see is his wife Andromache and his baby boy Astyanax, who's maybe 6 months old. So he goes home and he's looking for them. He can't find them. He's looking everywhere and he's starting to panic. And then someone tells him that they're up on the walls of the city, up on the tower. And so he runs up there, helmet flashing, still in his full armor. And there they are. His wife Andromache and his baby boy. Hector smiles. That's a rare thing. Oh, Hector, why are you just staring at us? Can't you speak? What are you doing home in the middle of the day? Is the war over? No, today's a bad day for us. I've come home to start the prayers. Oh, Hector, please listen to me. You're all I have. Achilles killed my mother, my father, my brothers. Now all I have is you and our child. I'm begging you, stay on the ramparts. Why can't you drop your army down there by the fig tree, where the gate is weakest? You know they've attacked us 3 times on that very spot where the wall is low. But I can't retreat. That'd make me look like a coward, and even though every night I wake in a sweat dreaming of you widowed, enslaved, and the boy, Hector reaches for the baby, but suddenly Astyanax wails, What? What did I do? It's your helmet. Take it off, take it off. No, it's okay. It's only Daddy's helmet. Here, don't be afraid. Someday you'll wear a helmet just like this. You'll be an even greater warrior than your father. You'll ride on a big horse, a dark one, just like mine. And you'll fly on that horse through the air. And one day you'll come home wearing the blood of the mortal enemy you've killed in battle. That is enough. Reckless one, Hector, your fiery courage will destroy you. Have you no pity for him, our helpless son, or for me, and the destiny that now so soon weighs me down, your widow? Andromache, why so desperate? No man will hurl me down to death against my fate. And fate? No man alive has ever escaped it, neither brave man nor coward. I tell you, it is born with us the day that we are born. Oh, but please, Hector, if you just stay home. No, I have to go. Give me a kiss. Now, go home, love, and don't cry. Pray. So, Hector puts on his heavy helmet and goes back towards the front lines. Have you ever seen a front line? Let's take... I want to show you what Hector walked back to just then, what the bloody field looked like, what the bodies just littered across it. Oh, I actually have a picture here. It's from a different war, but I can't... Well, here. You see, outside the trenches where there had been a particularly bad day, this is 100 years ago, but you get the picture. Well, you look at the field and it's just scattered with bodies, and when you look at it, you think, oh, well, these are just a bunch of bodies. But they're not, because this is Jamie, and this is Matthew, and this is Brennan, and this is Paul, and this is Scotty. He was 19. He was 21. He was 18. Brennan was meant to go to Oxford. He'd gotten a scholarship for his writing. He would have been the first child in his whole family to ever go to university, but he didn't. Do you see? But this is the war I want to tell you about now, because the women of Troy prayed, and those prayers seemed to work. And the Trojans begin to fight like never before, and still no Achilles, and that begins to take its toll on the Greeks. This is what the war looked like. At last, the two great armies clashed together at one strategic point. They slammed their shields together, pike scraped pike, with the grappling strength of fighters armed in bronze. Their rounded shields pounded boss on welded boss, and the sound of struggle roared and rocked the earth. Screams of men and cries of triumph breaking in one breath. Fighters killing, fighters killed, and the ground streamed blood. Wildly as two winter torrents, raging down from the mountains, hurl their great waters together, swirling into a valley, plunging down into a gorge. And miles away, in the hills, a shepherd hears the thunder. So from the two great armies broke the cries and crash of war. And terror and rout and relentless strife stormed too. Sister of man slaughtering Ares, Ares, comrade in arms. Strife, only a slight thing when she first rears her head, but Her head soon hits the sky as she strides across the earth. Now, strife rolled down the leveler hate amidst both sides, wading into the onslaught, flooding men with pain.
There's a grief that can't be spoken. There's a pain goes on and on.
I never could come up with the right epithet for Patroclus. Son of Menetius, horseman. You know what I should call him, I suppose. Friend. Patroclus was Achilles' friend. He was his only friend. They were boyhood friends. Patroclus was sent by his own father to live with Achilles' family. He's slightly older than Achilles, good with horses and practical. His father said to Patroclus, "It's your duty to take care of Achilles. You're wiser than he is. Counsel him and he'll listen to you." And so Patroclus and Achilles were more than friends. They were brothers, and really they were more than brothers. They loved each other. When Achilles couldn't sleep, Patroclus would hold him. That kind of thing. Friends. Now, Patroclus was a good fighter and all, but when Achilles retreats to his tent, Patroclus stops fighting too. There's no question his first allegiance is to his friend, but on this day with Trojan slaughtering Greeks left and right, and the Trojans have gotten past the Greek ramparts, and they've crashed past all the Greek defenses, and Patroclus has been running up and down the beach watching the bodies being carried, but there's nowhere to carry them, and he sees that Agamemnon is wounded, and Odysseus is wounded, and the one medic is wounded, and he can't take it anymore, so he runs to Achilles' tent. Don't be mad at me, but your anger is making you blind. Can't you see that Hector's destroying us? Is your heart made of stone? If you won't fight, drive the Trojans back, then let me. Give me your armor. They might think I am you. I'll take that chance. But you're wrong. You'll be remembered as a fool if you don't fight this day. But I swore I won't break my word. I won't fight for Agamemnon. I won't fight even if the Trojans come sweeping into my own tent. It's not even my anger now. It's the thought of breaking my word. I can't do it. But you, that's a good idea. You fight in my place. The whole city of Troy comes trampling down on us, daring wild. Why? They cannot see the brow of my helmet flash before their eyes. If you put on my armor, they'll think that I'm back. Just the thought that I'm back in the battle send them running in terror. Here, take it, my breastplate, my greaves, my helmet. But promise me this. You must only fight until you drive the Trojans back from our ramparts, and no further. Do not push close to the Trojan walls. Not without me. I promise. Can you see it? Can you? The young Patroclus. I can't help it. I always see him as young, too small for Achilles' armor, so that, he's kind of knocking around inside of it. Patroclus, oh my rider, straight at the pressing Trojan ranks you swooped. And at first he does as he's promised. The sight of Achilles' armor terrifies the Trojan fighters. They lose their nerve, and Patroclus drives them back from the Argive ships. And then further and further. He's good at this, Patroclus. He never knew he was so good at it. He's gifted. He breathed in the smell of blood and bronze. He's been waiting 9 years to show what he's made of. And here he is wearing Achilles' armor, and he feels good, You know that feeling when, for whatever reason, you could kill somebody? Right then and there. You could kill them. You could tear their fucking head off. You could rend them limb from limb. That guy in front of you who cut you off, you could ram him with your car. You don't care about the result. Just ram him. And you could see the charred metal, and you could see the smoking thing, and you can see the airbag, and you hope that the airbag smothers him. But if it doesn't, you'll get out, and you'll go, "You fucking idiot! Why did you fucking cut me off? Ah!" Glint of a spear tore his opponent's chest, stabbing the right jawbone, rammed the spearhead square between his teeth so hard. Hoisted, dragged the Trojan, fury bursting his heart, mouth gaping, flipped him down face first, dead as he fell. Lunging in, he flung a rock, struck between his eyes, crushed both brows. The skull caved in, and both eyes burst from their sockets. Nothing could stop Patroclus now. He's a killing machine, my God. Patroclus is something like superhuman. Patroclus and his men, hungry as wolves that rend and bolt raw flesh, hearts filled with battle frenzy that never dies. They gorge on the kill until all their jaws rip red with blood, belching bloody meat, but the fury never shaken, builds inside their chests where their gutted bellies burst. It's a blur of kills. One man slashed, another gored, another hammered, another splintered sinew, shredding bronze, ripping, split the belly, razor, slicing, another cutting away the tongue, another crack to the bony socket, and rents the whole arm out. Impaled, more whipped, more stabbed, more chopped, snapped, hewed, smacked, hacked, the whole earth ran hung, blood, 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 and red death, and it feels good. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's, oh God. I'm sorry. It's just sometimes. This is why I don't do this. This is why I don't do this. So Patroclus, crowded corpse on the earth that rears us all. And then, in the middle of it all, impossibly, like I never quite understood what happened myself. His helmet falls off, some of his armor falls off. He suddenly falls to the ground like some massive force hit him, but something hit him. I mean, his helmet didn't fit anyway. His armor didn't fit anyway. I mean, to even put it on, he had to stuff rags in his head and rags in his chest to even keep the thing on. I mean, it's not his armor. It's Achilles' armor. And Achilles is something like 400 pounds on the guy or whatever it is. So, Patroclus, after all this struggling, has lost his armor, has lost his helmet. And, I mean, you know what some people said at the time? They said that Apollo knocked it off of him. Apollo was on Hector's side, and that Apollo just went up to him and just went right up to him and just went, the little finger in the helmet just, and Apollo just kind of goes, and the straps break on the breastplate and falls to the ground. And so Patroclus stands up and goes, totally exposed. And out of nowhere comes this Dardan, this guy, a nobody, never fought before. First day of fighting, done very, very well, actually, running around. I think he's killed like 9 people so far. He's knocked 5 chariot riders off of their things, takes his spear and literally just happens to be behind Patroclus and just goes straight through him. And Patroclus, like he doesn't even feel it, turns around and goes and sees this kid, this Dardan. The Dardan takes a spear, pulls it out of him, and just runs away. Then Patroclus, the end of life came blazing up before you. Hector. Hector sees Achilles' armor, and Hector makes his move. He comes running at him from, I don't know how far away, but he gets him ahead of steam. He comes running at him. He takes his spear, and how did we say that worked exactly? Well, what we say is that it went up his bowels, and the brazen point came jutting out of his back. Patroclus crashes to the ground, and Hector begins to rage. Patroclus, surely you must have thought you'd storm my city down. You'd wrest from the wives of Troy their day of freedom. You fool. The vultures will eat your body raw. And not with all of his power could Achilles save you now. And how he must have filled your ears with orders. You maniac. You obeyed. So Patroclus, holding his body together with his hands, Patroclus curses Hector. You won't live long yourself, I swear. I see them looming up beside you now. Death and the strong force of fate to bring you down. Death cut him short. The end closed in around him, flying free of his limbs. His soul went winging down to the house of death. But Hector can't stop yelling at Patroclus even though he's already dead. You think you know my fate? Why should I fear death? No, death is on my side. He is my brother, and together we will devastate you. We will murder all Greeks. With that, he stuck a heel against Patroclus' chest and wrenched the brazen spear from the wound, kicked him over flat on his back. And then he tore the rest of Achilles' armor off the dead body savagely, awkwardly, crying out like an animal. Hector is a good guy, an honorable man. But at that moment, well, yes, that's how it happens. We think of ourselves, oh, not me. I'm not like that. I'm peaceful. But it happens anyway. Some trick in the blood and rage. Do you see?
A black cloud of grief came shrouding over Achilles. Overpowered in all his power, sprawled in the dust, Achilles suddenly loosed a terrible, wrenching cry. And his noble mother heard him. Here's what Achilles says to his mother. He's dead, and I sent him out there. It should have been me. What do I do now? If only strife could die from the lives of gods and men, and anger that drives the sanest man to flaring outrage. Bitter gall, sweeter than dripping streams of honey swarming in people's chests, and blinds like smoke, just like the anger Agamemnon, king of men, has roused in me now. Enough. Let bygones be bygones. Done is done. Now I'll go and meet that murderer hound, that Hector that destroyed the dearest life I know. Wait. You have no armor. Hector wears your armor now. Sit here. Wait. His mother runs to Hephaestus, the crippled god of fire, and asks him to make new armor for Achilles. Hephaestus flicks his hand, and tripods swing into place. He waves his hand again, and 20 bellows begin pumping and blowing on the fires, and the coals begin to glow white-hot. Again and again he waves his hand, and tin, bronze, gold, silver fly through the air, plunging into cauldrons to be melted down for Achilles. A breastplate, greaves for his legs, a helmet made of bronze, and a shield. The most magnificent shield I've ever seen. Hephaestus begins to fashion an immense orb, a shield as big as a room. With the river of the ocean circling, he puts the earth, the sky, the oceans, the sun, the moon, all the stars. He hammers out 2 cities on the shield. In one, there's a wedding taking place. A bride is led down a hillock past trees to her nervous groom. A city at peace. The other city is a walled city, and outside a siege is going on. 2 armies clash by a river. He fashions a field large with furrows, and he shows the horses tilling back and forth, and the farmers being refreshed with large cups of wine and honey. A farmer bringing home his cattle, and a lion attacks one of the bulls, and black blood pools on the bottom of the shield. A boy playing a lyre. Heartbreaking music. The song of a dying day. A circle of boys and girls dancing, with the crowd gathered around, clapping, singing, laughing. This is Achilles' new shield, and it gleamed with a beam that it went so far. It was as if you were far out at sea, you know, a sailor, and they had to look out at the shore and try to find the bearings, and they look for a light. And you have lighthouses now, but then sometimes we'd have like one guy on a mountain herding his sheep, and he'd have a very strong light, you know, to try to keep the sailors safe. And they're way out there. And his light beam comes flying out. That's what Achilles' shield looked like from a distance. It just bounced the light back, shot it way out, like that.
Achilles dashed toward the city, heart racing, rushing on, like a champion stallion drawing a chariot full tilt, sweeping across the plain in easy, tearing strides. So Achilles hurtled on, driving legs and knees. And Hector was the first to see him coming, surging over the plain, blazing like a star. And I don't have to tell you, do I? The tide has turned, of course, because Achilles is back in the game. The Greeks are winning, raging, driving the Trojans back inside their own walls. But there stood Hector, shackled by his deadly fate, holding his ground, exposed in front of Troy and the Scaean gates. This is what he looks like, and this is what he is thinking. No way out. If I sleep inside the gates and walls, now my army is ruined. I would die of shame to face the men of Troy and Trojan women trailing their long robes. So now better by far for me to stand up to Achilles, kill him, come home alive, or die at his hand in glory out before the walls. And then he stops. Listen. But wait. What if I put down my studded shield and heavy helmet, prop my spear on the rampart, go forth just as I am to meet Achilles? Why? I could promise to give back Helen, yes, and all those treasures with her, all those riches Paris once howled home at Troy in the hollow ships, and they were the cause of all our endless fightings. And that's what we have all been thinking, isn't it? Isn't it? Just give her back! Yes, yes. Written it all to the sons of Atreus now to howl away, and then at the same time divide the rest with all the Argives, all the city hold, and then I would take an oath for Trojan royal council that we will hide nothing, share and share alike the hoards of our handsome citadel stores within its depth. And why debate, my friend? Why thrash things out? No way to parley with that man, not now. Not from behind some oak or rock to whisper like a boy and a young girl lover's secret. A boy and a girl might whisper to each other. Better to clash in the battle now at once. So he wavered, waiting there. But Achilles was closing on him now like a god of war, the fighter's helmet flashing over his right shoulder, shaking his Pelian ash spear. That terror and the bronze around his body flared like a raging fire, like a blazing, rising sun. Hector looked up, saw him, started to tremble. Nerve gone, he could hold his ground no longer. He left the gates behind and away he fled in fear. So Achilles flew at him, breakneck on in fury, with Hector fleeing along the walls of Troy. Fast as his legs would go, on and on they raced, passing the lookout point, passing the wild fig tree, tossed by the wind, always out from under the rampart. Down the wagon trail they careered until they reached the clear running springs, where whirling Scamander rises up from its double well spring, bubbling strong. Past these they raced, one escaping, one in pursuit, and the one who fled was great, but the one pursuing greater, even greater, their pace mounting in speed like powerful stallions. So the two of them whirled 3 times around the city of Priam, sprinting at top speed. And Hector could never throw Achilles off his trail, the swift racer Achilles. Time and again he would make a dash for the Dardan gates, trying to rush beneath the rock-built rampart, hoping that the men on the heights might save him somehow, raining spears. But time and again Achilles would intercept him quickly, heading him off, forcing him out across the plain, and always sprinting at city side himself. Endless as in a dream, when a man can catch another fleeing on ahead, and he can never escape nor his rival overtake him. So the one can never run the other down in speed, nor the other spring away. And how could Hector have fled the fates of death so long? This is the scale the gods used to weigh the fates of men. Zeus weighs the fates of Hector and Achilles in the scales, and these are real, actual things, these scales. And down went Hector's day of doom, dragging him down to the strong house of death, and the gods left him. No more running away from you in fear, Achilles. Now my spirit stirs me to meet you face to face. Now kill or be killed. Come, we will swear to the gods, the highest witnesses. If Zeus allows me to last it out and tear your life away, I will give your body to your loyal comrade. Swear you will do the same. Hector! Stop! There are no binding oaths between men and lions. Wolves and lambs can enjoy no meetings of the minds. They are all bent on hating on each other to the death. So with you and me. And if you could see the way they look at each other, what do they see? I wonder if he's scared. Look at him. He may be yelling and shaking his spear, but when it comes right down to it, he wants to stay alive. And I can even imagine we can leave here. We will get drunk somewhere and we will talk about it like, hey, remember that battle? When was it? 4 days ago when you guys got us pinned against the wall, and then out of nowhere, that young spearman got your charioteer and you guys got thrown. That was intense. Yeah. And how about that bird that came out of nowhere? Yeah, that was kind of freaky. Yeah, that thing just landed in the middle of the field, and for a minute, we were all staring at it. Was it a heron? No. It was an egret. Oh, wait, well, we call him heron. No, isn't heron with a blue tinge to its upper wings? Well, I think we called that an egret. No. Whatever he may have been thinking, this is what Achilles said. Now you will pay at a stroke for all my comrades' grief, all you killed in the fury of your spear. With that, shaft poise, Achilles hurled, and his spear's long shadow flew. But seeing it coming, Hector ducked away, crouching down, watching the bronze tip fly past and stab the earth. You missed. Look, great godlike Achilles, all bluff, cunning with words. That's all you are. But now, it's for you to dodge my brazen spear. Shaft poise, he hurled, and his spear's long shadow flew. And it struck Achilles' shield, a dead center hit. But off and away it seethed, and Hector seethed. His hurtling spear, his whole arm's power poured in a wasted shot. He stood there, cast down. He had no spear in reserve. Yes. And Hector knew the truth in his heart, and the fighter cried aloud, my time has come, and death, grim death, is looming up beside me now. No longer far away, no way to escape it now. Well, let me die, but not without struggle, not without glory, no, but in some great clash of arms that even men to come will hear of down the years. On that resolve, Hector swooped now, swinging his weighted sword, and Achilles' charge too, bursting with rage barbaric. And fired flare from the sharp point of the spear, Achilles brandished high in his right hand, bent on Hector's death, scanning his splendid body, where to pierce it best. And the rest of his flesh seemed all encased in an armor, burnished brazen. Achilles' armor Hector stripped from strong Patroclus when he killed him. That's right. Hector is wearing Achilles' armor. My God. So there is Achilles, spear in his hand, and he's looking at himself, in a way at an image of himself. And he is looking for a weak spot. And he knows exactly where that is, 'cause it's his armor. One spot lay exposed, where the collarbone lifts the neck bone of the shoulder, the open throat, where the end of life comes quickest. As Hector charged in fury, brilliant Achilles drew his spear, and the point went stabbing clean through the tender neck. Hector crashed in the dust. Godlike Achilles gloried over him. Hector! Surely you thought when you stripped Patroclus' armor that you would be safe, never a fear of me. Far from fighting as I was, you fool. The dogs and birds will maul you, shame your corpse, while Achaeans bury my dear friend in glory. Struggling for breath, Hector, his helmet flashing, said, I beg you, by your life, your parents, but don't let the dogs devour me by our jive ships. Wait! Take the princely ransom of bronze and gold, the gift my father and noble mother will give you, but give my body to my friends to carry home again. Beg no more, you fawning dog, begging me by my parents. Would to God my fury, my rage would drive me now to hack your flesh and eat you raw. Such agonies you cost me ransom. The dogs and birds will rend you, blood and bone. I know you well. I see my fate before me, iron inside your chest, that heart of yours. But now beware, or my curse will draw God's wrath upon your head. That day when Lord Apollo and Paris, for all your fighting hard, destroy you at the Scaean gates. The death cut him short. The end closed in around him, flying free of his limbs. His soul went winging down to the house of death. Now come, you sons of Achaea! Raise a song of triumph! Down to the ships we march, and bear this corpse on high. We have won ourselves great glory. We have brought magnificent Hector down, the man the Trojans glorified in their city like a god. So he triumphed. And now he was bent on outrage, on shaming the noble Hector. Piercing the tendons, ankle to heel behind both feet, he knotted the straps of raw hide through them both, lashed them to his chariot, left the head to drag, and mounting the car, he whipped his team to a run, and breakneck on they flew, holding nothing back. And a thick cloud of dust rose up from the man they dragged. His dark hair swirling that had so handsome once, all tumbled low in the dust. So his whole head was dragged down in the dust.
It's so, if you had seen it, the waste, just like there was this one time, yes, it was a terrible hot day during the conquest of Sumer.
I mean, the conquest of Sargon. The Persian War. No. The Peloponnesian War. War of Alexander the Great. Punic War. Gallic War. Caesar's invasion of Britain. Great Jewish Revolt. Yellow Turban Rebellion. War against the Moors in North Africa. Roman-Persian War. Fall of Rome. Byzantine-Arab War. Muslim conquest of Egypt. First siege of Constantinople. Arab-Chinese War. Saxon Wars. Viking raid across Europe. Bulgarian siege of Constantinople. Zanj rebellion in southern Iraq. Croatian-Bulgarian War. Viking Civil War. Norman conquest of England. First Crusade. Second Crusade. Third Crusade. Fourth Crusade. Children's Crusade. Fifth. Sixth. Seventh. Eighth. Ninth Crusade. Norman invasion of Ireland. Mongol invasion of China. Mongol invasion of Russia. Mongol invasion of Afghanistan. Mongol invasion of Vietnam. The 100 Years' War. Chinese domination of Vietnam. Polish-Lithuanian Teutonic War. Hunger War. Fall of Constantinople. War of the Roses. War of the Priests. Muscovite-Lithuanian Wars. The Spanish conquest of Mexico. The Mughal conquest of India. War of the Two Brothers. The Spanish conquest of Peru. 30 Years' War. Pequot War. First, Second, and Third English Civil Wars. Cromwell's conquest of Ireland. Cromwell's conquest of Scotland. The 335 Years' War. French and Indian Wars. Second Cherokee War. American Revolution. French Revolution. Haitian Revolution. The Napoleonic Wars. The Bolivian War of Independence. Argentine War of Independence. Mexican War of Independence. Venezuelan War of Independence. War of 1812. Colombian, Chilean, Peruvian, and Ecuadorian Wars of Independence. Lower Canada Rebellion. Upper Canada Rebellion. Second Seminole War. Mormon War. Pastry War. Honey War. First Anglo-Afghan War. First Opium War. Crimean War. The Land Wars. American Civil War. Sioux Wars. Second Anglo-Afghan War. The Boer Wars. Cuban War of Independence. Spanish-American War. Mexican Revolution. World War I. Russian Revolution. Third Anglo-Afghan War. Irish War of Independence. Afghan Civil War. Japanese invasion of Manchuria. Saudi-Yemeni War. Spanish Civil War. World War II. Palestine Civil War. Arab-Israeli War. Cold War. Korean War. Cuban Revolution. Tibetan Rebellion. Vietnam. Bay of Pigs. Sand War. Six-Day War. Laos. Cambodia. The Troubles. Prague Spring. Nicaraguan Revolution. Salvadoran Civil War. Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. Contra War in Nicaragua. Second Sudanese Civil War. Iran-Iraq War. Falklands War. Israeli invasion of Lebanon. U.S. invasion of Grenada. U.S. invasion of Panama. First Intifada. Afghan Civil War. Rwandan Civil War. Bosnia and Herzegovina. Chechnya. Afghanistan. Kosovo. Iraq. Chechnya. Afghanistan. Rwanda. Darfur. Iraq. Haiti. Pakistan. Lebanon. Kenya. Zimbabwe. Congo. Gaza. Somalia. Georgia. Iraq. Pakistan. Afghanistan. Libya. Syria. Sudan. Yemen. Ukraine.
Hecuba opens her mouth because all this time they were all watching. The Trojans from the top of the rampart, his mother, Hecuba, his father, his brothers, Helen. All of the Trojans
watching Hector die. Teknone hovi litini viomena pafusa sepotevniotos, ninaf thanatos gemira kehani. And all around the ramparts, Hector's family wailed with the grieving Hecuba. But his wife, Andromache, wasn't at the wall. She was inside weaving. She hadn't seen a thing. Busy drawing his bath, she talked herself into the idea that he was coming home. He'd need a bath. Then she hears the women wailing. She hears her mother-in-law's voice. She recognizes that voice. She's never, ever heard that voice sound like that before. Her heart pounds, her legs go numb. Oh, I know it. Something terrible's coming down on Priam's children. That's an awful moment, isn't it? It starts with a bad feeling or an intuition, or why did the phone ring at 3 o'clock in the morning? Or I didn't get a phone call, or he didn't come home, or it's late. It's really late. He should have come home by now. I should have heard by now. The plane should have landed by now. He should have called. She starts to walk, trying to keep herself calm, trying not to panic, but her heart begins to race, and she starts getting that weird throbbing, and her eyes start to go kind of dim. She can't actually see where she's going. And she comes out, and even before she gets to ask a question, she looks out across the plain, and she actually sees her husband, dead, being dragged behind the chariot. And she starts to yell at him. Now you go down to the house of death, the dark depths of the earth, and leave me here, a widow, lost in the royal halls, to waste away in grief, and the boy, only a baby. Hector, what help are you to him now you are dead? What help is he to you? Think, even if he escapes the wrenching horrors of war against the Argives, pain and labor will plague him all his days to come. You know what she's really saying? She's saying, I told you so. Hector's body disappears in a cloud of dust. Achilles drags his prize to the Greek camp and dumps it in the sand next to the Argive ships. The Greeks cheer and drink and celebrate, but Achilles' fury just won't end, and so he drags Hector's body round and round Patroclus' tomb day after day after day. And the thing you have to ask yourself is, it's been 10 days. What's there left to drag? No, you'd be wrong, see, because the gods look down and, really, after all their meddling, after leaving Hector to die, well, now they change their minds. They wrap Hector's body in a magic shield of storm. Zeus loves him, after all. And so Hector's body is just perfect, unharmed, sweet-smelling, impossible. So for 10 days, the Trojans have been watching from a distance. The dust rising, funeral pyres smoking, the Greeks carousing and singing songs of the triumph of Achilles. And Hector's father, Priam, decides to go. Even though he's almost 80 years old, he decides to slog through all the battlefields to the Greek camp to ransom himself, his kingdom, all his treasures to Achilles to get his son's body back. He sets off with only one old charioteer in the middle of the night. It's dark and dangerous, and just as Priam and his driver start getting tired, a young man with fabulous sandals appears before them. Old man, what are you up to? You're crossing into Greek territory now? You're about to cross enemy lines with your wagon full of treasure? You've lost your minds. Listen, a wink. I'll help you. I'll show you the way. Priam asks the man who he is, but the young man goes, shh. They sweep unseen across the battlefield, past the ramparts, past the sentries. And when they get to the massive gate, so big it usually takes 8 men to push open the doors, the young man, their guide, simply whistles. And the gate flies open. Old man, I'll tell you who I am. I am Hermes, wink, and I can go no further. Then he's gone. Priam looks up to see Achilles standing up from the dinner table. It's like staring into the face of a deathless god. Breathtaking. Great Achilles, you are surprised to see me here, an old man. I am Priam, king of Troy. I've driven a wagon full of treasure all the way here from my city. I will ransom everything. Look how I kneel at your feet. I have endured what no one on earth has ever done before. I put to my lips the hand of the man who killed my son. Achilles says, you amaze me, old man. Get up, don't kneel at my feet. You have a father. Remember your father. You're so far away from home. Your father's probably suffering right now. No one is there to help him. Your father needs you, and you're far away in Troy. What would he give to have you home with him? I'm asking you now, as your father would ask me. Give me the body. Let me have the body of my son. I never cried before I came to Troy, but in these past 40 days, I find myself crying almost every day. I have a reason to cry, and so do you, old man. Then they both start to weep. Priam crying for his dead son, Achilles crying for his aging father, so far away, and for his dead friend Patroclus, and for himself. Enough grief, enough tears. What good will our tears do? I won't see my father again. You can't bring your son back to life. Give me my son. You took him from me. His body is rotting out there on the beach. I've had enough of this. Let me see my son. Don't make me mad. You don't know the way my heart is so full of rage. I'm sick with it, old man. Don't stir my rage. Don't make me angry or I'll... And now, here's the thing. What I love singing, and I hope I can make you see. For once, Achilles, who is addicted to rage, as so many of us are really when it comes right down to it, this fighting man feels the rage well up in his heart, and he makes it disappear. He just... How did he do that? Achilles lets go of his rage and goes outside and lifts Hector's body up in his own arms. Achilles lifted Hector up in his own arms and laid him down in his father's wagon. Okay, it's done. I've laid him in your wagon, old man. Nah, don't run out there now. I'll have my men make a bed for you out on the porch. In the morning, you will see him, and then you'll take him home. Oh, one more thing. How many days do you need to bury Prince Hector? Well, we would need time to set up his memorial. Our city is far from the hills. We'd have to go out and haul in timber for the pyre. We'd need 9 days to mourn him, and then we'd bury him on the 10th day, and another day to finish his tomb and have a feast in his honor. 11 days. We would need 11 days. And then we could fight again on the 12th day, if that's absolutely necessary. Done. You'll have your 11 days. I'll make the Greeks stop fighting for 11 days. Put me to bed. Priam reached out his hand, and Achilles took it and led the old man to the porch. Priam slept, dreaming of the journey home, and Achilles slept, dreaming of his father, and the entire Greek army slept, dreaming of the next day's battle. And the sentries guarding the walls of Troy slept, and all of the Trojan civilians slept, and all of the Trojan soldiers slept. And in the countryside, the farmers and the shepherds and the animals slept. And in the Greek ships, the slaves and the oarsmen slept. And even way up on Olympus, Zeus lay his head on Hera's shoulder, and even the gods fell asleep.
I don't want to tell you about what happens next. I know you know about the trick that did it. the Trojan horse. I can't do it. How the Greek soldiers pretended to leave, and Troy rejoiced, and they thought it was over. The war was over. But that night, Greek soldiers snuck out and began the slaughter and the burning. The sack of Troy, that's not. I'm not singing that song. The song of the murder of Priam, the song of the death of Achilles, the song of Hector's infant son, thrown from the battlements. How the Greek soldier held him up in one hand, but the baby laughed. The soldier's helmet made him think of his father, and this time he thought it was a game. The sound of the boy's head splitting on the pavement. The song of the Trojan women, all of them kidnapped and raped and taken to Greece. The song of Aeneas escaping with his father on his back. The song of Odysseus trying to get home. No, it's too much. All these songs, imagine it for yourselves. The destruction of a city, a civilization. You know what that looks like. Like Alexandria. All that history lost. Like Constantinople, burning for weeks. Like Aztec temples razed. Like Dresden. Hiroshima. Like Sarajevo. Like Kabul. Like Aleppo. Like I will tell you this. Cassandra saw them first. Priam in the wagon and the body of Hector. Priam told his people of the ceasefire not to worry, there would be no war for 11 whole days. They could bury Hector the proper way. Until they built a pyre, and they mourned him. And on the 10th night, they burned his body until the sun came up. At last, when young dawn, with her rose-red fingers shone once more, the people massed around illustrious Hector's pyre. Once they'd gathered, crowding the meeting grounds, they first put out the fires with glistening wine wherever the flames still burned in all their fury. They collected the white bones of Hector. All his brothers, his friends in arms, mourning, and warm tears came streaming down their cheeks. They placed the bones they found in a golden chest, shrouding them round and round in soft purple cloths. They quickly lowered the chest in a deep, hollow grave and overpiled a cope of huge stones closely set. Then hastily heaped a barrow, posted lookouts all around, for fear the Achaean combat troops would launch their attack before the time agreed. And once they'd heaped the mound, they turned back home to Troy, and gathering once again, they shared a splendid funeral feast in Hector's honor, held in the house of Priam, king by will of Zeus. Os iam phiapon taphon ectoros iberamio. And so they buried Hector, breaker of horses. Do you see?